Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, how are you feeling today? I hope everyone is in good health today. Let me introduce myself. I am Nurul Zuraini binti Zulkifli from SMK Datuk Haji Abdul Wahab, Sungai Siput, Perak. In this session today, you will learn about cell structures and their functions. Boys and girls, before we get started, please make sure you are ready with your Science Form 1 textbook, a notebook, and stationery. Alright, now let's get started. Boys and girls, today you will learn about cells in living things. Before we get started, let's take a look at the learning objectives for our lesson today. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to first, explain that living things are made up of cells that carry out life functions and undergo cell division. Second, prepare slides of animal cells and plant cells using the correct procedures. Third, communicate about each structures in cells with their function, as well as compare and contrast animal cells with plant cells. And lastly, you will be able to differentiate the types and functions of animal cells and plant cells. Alright? Now, are you ready, boys and girls? Boys and girls, have you ever played with Lego blocks? Look what I have here. I have two models, a heart-shaped model and another in the shape of a Christmas tree made from blocks of Lego. It starts with one block that combines together and becomes an object like what I am doing now. So that means each of these blocks is the basic unit of each of these toys. Pupils, the same applies to living things such as humans, animals, and plants. The basic unit of living things is called a cell. Our body is made up of cells. Can you guess how many cells we have in our body? Wow, that is correct. The human body has approximately 15 trillion cells. Can you imagine that? But pupils, can you see all those cells in your body? No, we cannot see the cells by using our naked eyes because the cell is very tiny. So, how can we observe the cell? Yes, correct. We can observe the cell by using a microscope. Boys and girls, although the cell is very tiny and is a basic unit of a complex organism, did you know that each cell resembles a microscopic factory where thousands of chemical reactions occur in only one cell? For your information, one cell carries out all of life's functions such as growth, respiration, excretion, and reproduction. Boys and girls, let's take a look at these pictures. The first picture shows a woman has just given birth to a baby. The second picture shows a cat which has just given birth to kittens. The third picture shows a banana plant that has a banana pulp growing from its base. Boys and girls, what do these pictures mean? These pictures show that all living things reproduce. But why? You are right. It is to ensure the continuation of life on Earth. So pupils, do you remember what we have learnt? Cells are the basic unit of living things. This means that cells reproduce too because cells are part of living things. Can anyone tell me how the cell reproduces? Very good! A cell can reproduce through a process called the cell division process. Let's watch the video of how the cell division process occurs. So pupils, from the video, we can see that one individual cell can become two cells and so on in the division process of a cell. Does anyone know the purpose of the division process? Excellent! The purpose of this process is to form a new cell and replace damaged cells. That means just as humans, animals, and plants have their own life cycle, cells too will be dead after a certain time. Pupils, do you have any idea what happens if the cell does not die and divide continuously? Let's find the answer together. In control conditions, cells divide normally. But when all cells do not die and divide continuously without control, then they form new abnormal cells. The combination of extra cells may form a mass of tissue called a tumor and cancer. Let's watch the clip together. Pupils, how does a person get cancer? Here are the main causes of cancer, such as smoking, radiation, and exposure to carcinogenic substances. So boys and girls, please be careful with anything that you consume because it may cause the growth of cancer cells. Now, you already know that the basic unit of all living things is the cell. Are all cells the same? No. there are differences between the cells of animals and plants. So pupils, what do you think the structures of animal cells and plant cells look like? Let's watch the demonstration video of how to investigate the structure of animal cells by using chick cells and also the structure of plant cells by using onion cells. So, if you observe under the microscope, these are how the chick cells and the onion cells look like. Here, you can see that there are a lot of onion cells in the same shape and in various layers. And for the chick cells, the shape is different from onion cells. Boys and girls, let's find out how the structure of an animal cell and a plant cell looks like. Boys and girls, this is how the animal cell structure looks like. Number 1. This is the nucleus. The function of the nucleus is to control all activities in the cell. All activities refer to the life functions of cells. Inside the nucleus, there are chromosomes. Chromosomes consist of deoxyribonucleic acid, which is also known as DNA. the DNA carries genetic information. Number 2 is a mitochondria. The function of mitochondria is to produce energy for the reactions. Mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse. Number 3 is the cell membrane. The function of cell membrane is to control the flow of materials in and out of the cell. And number 4 is the cytoplasm. All the chemical reactions of the cells occur here. Pupils, let us now look at a plant cell. This is how the structure of a plant cell looks like. It is different from animal cells, right? Let's take a look at the structure of the plant cell. Number 1 is the nucleus. This is the same as animal cells, where inside the nucleus there are chromosomes. Number 2 is the mitochondria. Number 3 is the cell membrane. Number 4 is the cytoplasm. And number 5 is known as the vacuole. You can see here that the vacuole occupies almost all the space inside the cell. This is because the function of vacuole is to provide support to cells when filled with cell sap. Number 6 is the cell wall. You can see that the plant cell has a fixed shape. This is because the cell wall of a plant cell gives a fixed shape, support, and also protection. And finally, number 7 is a granule known as a chloroplast. Its function is to absorb light energy for the process of photosynthesis in the plant. Wow! After going through each of the structures of the animal cell and plant cell, don't you find it really amazing? We can see that in one tiny cell, there is a complex structure that has various specific functions. Boys and girls, after you have seen the structures of both animal and plant cells, do you see any differences in both cells? Let's compare and contrast between animal cell and plant cell by using a double bubble map. Here you can see that both animal cell and plant cell have nucleus, cell membrane, cytoplasm, and also mitochondria. All these 4 structures also share the same functions. Now, let's find the differences of both cells. The differences between animal cell and plant cell are: first, animal cell does not have a cell wall, whereas plant cell has a cell wall. Second, animal cell does not have vacuole, whereas plant cell has vacuole. Third, animal cell has no fixed shape, whereas plant cell has a fixed shape because of the cell wall. And lastly, animal cell does not have chloroplast, whereas plant cell has chloroplast. Now, pupils, let me ask you one question. Do all the cells in our body have the same shape and structures? Excellent! There are various types of cells in the human body and in plants as well. To know more about the types and functions of animal cells and plant cells, let's take a look at the next diagram. These are the types of cells in the human body. The first type of cell is the nerve cells. The function of nerve cells is to carry information in the form of impulse to all parts of the body. The second type of cell is the epithelial cells. Its function is to form a layer that protects organs in the body. The third type of cell is the muscle cells. The function of muscle cells is to enable movement by contracting and relaxing the muscles. The fourth type of cell is the red blood cells. The function of a red blood cell is to transport oxygen to all parts of the body and to transport carbon dioxide back to the lungs. Pupils, let me give you a tip on how to remember the function of red blood cells. Its shape is like the letter O, and O is for oxygen. That means red blood cells transport oxygen. The fifth cell is the white blood cells. White blood cells play an important role in fighting diseases. And the last type of cell is the reproductive cells. Reproductive cells are different between male and female. The ovum is the cell that carries female genetic materials, whereas the sperms carry male genetic materials. Now, let's look at the types of cells in plants. This is a tree. We will look at two parts of the tree, which are the leaf and the root. At the leaf, there are three types of cells. The first type of cell is the epidermal cell. The function of epidermal cells is to reduce water loss, to allow gaseous exchange, and to absorb water and nutrients. The second type of cell is the palisade cells. Palisade cells can absorb sunlight and carry photosynthesis because it contains chlorophyll. And the third type of cell is the guard cells. Guard cells have the shape of a bean. Its function is to control the opening and closing of stomata. The stoma is a small opening between two gut cells that usually opens during the day and closes at night or on a very hot day. Okay, pupils. Next is the type of cells in the root of the plant, which is known as root hair cells. The function of root hair cells is to absorb water and nutrients from the soil. Pupils, we have finished with all the types of cells of animals and plants. I hope you can understand and have taken down all the important points in your notebook. Pupils, how are you doing so far? I hope you can stay with me for the next part of our lesson. Now, let's try to answer the following questions. Question 1. What is a cell? Let's check your answer. Cells are the basic unit of life. Next question is question 2. Name the structure that controls the excretion process. Yes, this is the structure called the nucleus. Its function is to control all the activities of the cell, including the excretion process. Alright, let's go on to question 3. The diagram shows a plant cell. Name the X on the diagram and state its function. X is the chloroplast. Its function is to absorb light energy for the photosynthesis process. Now, next is question 4. Sarina is given 2 samples of cells which are taken from a cat and a balsam tree, but both samples are not labeled. How can Sarina differentiate between the sample from a cat and the sample from a balsam tree? Let's check your answer. The cell that has a fixed shape is from a balsam tree because a plant cell has a cell wall that can maintain the shape of the cell, while the cell that does not have a fixed shape is from a cat because an animal cell does not have a cell wall. Congratulations to those who have successfully answered all the questions correctly. You are now able to explain that living things are made up of cells that carry out large functions and undergo cell division. Second, prepare slides of animal cells and plant cells using the correct procedures. Third, communicate about each structure in cells with their function, as well as compare and contrast animal cells with plant cells. Fourth, differentiate the types and functions of animal cells and plant cells. Our lesson has come to an end. I really hope that today's lesson can help you to explore more about all the cells in your body and also in plants. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Till we meet again, see you in the next class. Assalamualaikum and goodbye everyone!